Sätt igång den. So, warm welcome back everybody. We're here with Under Ytan and getting ready for another hopefully inspiring talk where we explore the new world of business. And today we are now joined by another international celebrity, I was going to say, a thought leader around the world, Frans Johansson. Warm welcome.
Thank you very much.
Flying in from New York, where you're based.
Yeah, actually I came from Houston. I'm based in New York.
You're based in New York.
From Houston.
You
Yeah.
came from Houston. But you have done some great work. I've read your book, The Medici Effect, for example. You have a new book also coming out, The Click Moments. Great pieces of work. And speaking of the Medici Effect, and speaking of Sweden, why don't you are really in the Medici Effect, you talk about the intersections.
Yes.
How you cross different cultures or disciplines or people, and you yourself are a result of an intersection, I guess, with a Swedish father.
Yes, well that's true. My parents are really they've crossed boundaries across cultures, countries, ethnicities. My dad is Swedish. My mom's from the States. She's black and Cherokee,
Yeah.
actually. And what I discovered early was that in this intersection between different cultures and countries and ethnicities were all kinds of new ideas that could come to life. I think that informed my way of thinking for the rest of my life.
I mean, you've had for those people, a lot of people I think have heard about the Medici Effect, but for those people who don't know you, maybe you want to tell briefly your story, because you're not only an author of some pretty cool books. You've started a couple of companies. You've done some research. You come from the environment field, and I want
Sure. Yeah.
brief background.
Well, I mean, this idea, this notion that intersections between different fields and cultures and disciplines are very powerful places for innovation, was further reinforced during my academic years. I studied environmental science, and that's really, in order to do that, you need to bring together knowledge from lots of different disciplines. And I could see the power of doing that. Actually, I started a magazine at that point, an interdisciplinary science magazine, and it was exploring all kinds of different innovative ideas. And it's still around, actually. It's celebrating its 20th anniversary this year. And now, that in turn inspired me to explore innovative ideas more generally. I started a healthcare company, and then I started a software company after business school, and then ultimately, in the middle of all of that, I got the idea for the Medici Effect. And the Medici Effect basically says that you have the best chance of breaking new ground when you combine ideas from different fields, different industries, different cultures. So if you're an architect, you might say, well, I want to look for new ideas within architecture. And that's fine, of course. You could talk to other architects and come up with ideas, and that's great. But the true breakthroughs happen when you're able to intersect architecture with something else. And in the book I describe this architect who drew the science and inspiration from how termites build their mounds on the African savanna, and was then able to build buildings that are super sustainable out of that. And we see this over and over again. Innovators that break new ground, companies, entrepreneurs, artists, scientists, they all look for ideas outside of their field of expertise. And so ultimately, there was so much interest around this that besides sort of going around talking about this to companies all over the world, I started a company myself to be able to assist strategically these other corporations in helping them innovate.
Yeah, it's fantastic. How come people are, because I agree that people are really poor at stepping outside the box and outside their field, yet there's still ample evidence that it's actually, the true innovations are there. How come are not more companies doing it?
There's a lot of different reasons why, actually. Particularly if you look at it from a company perspective, a company is really a machine designed to do what it does really well. So it figured out this is what we can do. We can sell this, we can make this, we can service that, we can cater, we can show, we can whatever it is. And then it focuses on becoming extremely good at doing that. And so every decision it makes supports that. The people they hire, the departments it sets up, and so on. Which means that it also becomes extremely good at killing any idea that doesn't support that idea. But there are different ways of operating. But before I get to that, let me also say that it's not just on a company structure way. It's also on a human mind way. It's on your own, how you think about yourself. Sure. We are both sometimes a little bit too afraid to try things that we don't know for sure are going to work. And when you step into an intersection, you're like, wait a minute, termites architecture? Are you sure? Like, am I going to waste my time? So we're afraid of doing that. And if we want to innovate, we have to be prepared to make mistakes. Which is sort of a big reason why we keep ourselves locked in. Another reason is that, well, we're kind of lazy. So if we know that this works and it works well, and even if I do know, as you said, that I should really reach out to others to try to get some new perspectives, and it's hard work. It takes time. You have to get to know somebody else. You might as well just do what you already do and tweak it just a little bit. Those are some reasons why.
What are some of the most, because obviously it does work. You mentioned a couple of examples. What are some of the other inspiring, you work now with some of the truly inspiring companies around the world. What are some good examples that can show these people that, hey, you guys can do this?
First of all, it is true. We work with some absolutely exceptional companies around the world in helping them innovate. Disney and Nike and Electronic Arts, Dice, which is a Swedish video game company, actually, pharma companies, AstraZeneca, and so on. And I think that is extremely exciting because they are sort of on an innovative edge, but they need to push further. But I'm not always sure that is a great inspiration for an individual, because that's a corporation. You're like, okay, so you look at it, we did some work with Google. Okay, so you're not Google. Well, Google is a big company that have been extremely successful. Yes, one can get inspiration from that. But I also like to get inspiration from other examples, individuals. One of my favorite stories, I'm going to talk about this today at this conference, is Ingvar Bergqvist, who created the Ice Hotel. And the journey he took to create it is really a journey that, as long as you just have some level of imagination, and you just don't give up, then most people can go on that journey. He didn't come up with Ice Hotel right away and just made it. No, he came up with this idea that he tested, and that didn't really work. Then he tried something else and he tested it, and that didn't really work. And he tried something else and tested it, and that didn't really work. And then he tried something, and that was Ice Hotel. Well, that's something that, as long as we're just willing to keep going, if it doesn't work, we keep trying. Then that's something that most people that are listening to this could try.
Sure. We have, we're here in Gothenburg at the World Innovation Challenge, and another person joining us has also been featured in these talks is Mohammed Yunus.
Yes.
And he was pretty creative and innovative some 30, 40 years ago when he came up with a green bank.
Absolutely.
Changing the games of how banking or financing, microcredits could work.
And even with that story, right, you're looking at somebody who is, if you look at his story carefully, you will see that tons of mistakes. When we look at somebody like Yunus, we must say, wow, he's so inspirational. How can I even compare to that? And yeah, he is inspirational, of course. But we say that after the fact. We say it because he came up with something that changed the world. But it is possible for most of us that if we just try, if we keep trying, then we might eventually hit upon something that will make a difference. And that's what he tried over and over and over. Green Bank did not work when his first try, and it didn't, not his second, not his third, not his fourth. He kept trying, and that piece, that insight, that persistence is so critical to success. Sure. is very powerful. The app, the game Angry Birds. It's one of the most successful games of all time, and downloaded over 1 billion times. And you look at it, you go, yeah, I know why, because it's so well designed. It was addictive. It really created a revolution in mobile games. And it was a Finnish company that made it, Rovio. And people look at that and go, wow, I mean, they know what they're doing. Except, I mean, if they were that sure of what they were doing, why did they wait 8 years to do it? Because Rovia was around for 8 years before they started. Angry Birds was their 52nd game. You haven't heard the other 51 games. If you, or myself, anybody listening to this, tried something 52 times, I'm pretty sure they have a good shot at greatness as well.
Great. Most people probably around the world listen to this, but also here, obviously in Sweden, we're doing pretty good. I mean, Sweden known for a lot of things, and we're doing a pretty good job with technology and innovation. We come up with, if it's not even a Finnish game, Angry Birds, there's a bunch of Swedish examples too. So we do a pretty good job. But at the same time, we're pretty, we're not the typical out-of-the-box type of people. We are pretty conforming in a way, aren't we? And a little bit careful. What is your view on that? How do we?
Well, I mean, there's no doubt in my mind that Sweden could achieve so much more in terms of innovation. I think that the saving grace for Sweden, the reason Sweden is able to remain as innovative as we are, is because Swedes have a tradition of traveling all over the world constantly. You compare it to Norwegians, you compare it to the Finns, you compare it to the Danes, for instance. If you just take those 3 countries around us, we're traveling far, far more, which means that when we come back, we've seen more. We are more open for new experiences. We're more open to try and test things. And so Swedes can be inside the box, but we're also willing to sort of take in expressions from our travels. And I believe that has been one of the reasons why we've consistently been able to sort of be flexible and try new things. That said, we are extremely poor at being able to understand how to bring in new perspectives here. We have the world in Sweden. Those connections not being made. I spend a lot of time talking about how diversity drives innovation. A diversity of perspectives, cultures, countries, gender, fields, industries, and so on as well. And we're not good at it here in this country. It could be a lot better.
Moving back beyond Sweden, if we gaze into the world, what's going on? It's 2015, important year, many people say, with global leaders meeting all over the place, Addis Ababa this summer, and so forth. Things happening in New York, of course, and December. It's a big year. What sort of world do you see?
Well, I'm not so sure I would be able to predict it. I have a lot of hope for the future. I believe that it's a world where people can get together, share experiences, and build on those, and where it's much easier for any one individual person to make a difference. At the same time, I'm also seeing things sort of becoming. I'm seeing a tremendous amount of change. A tremendous amount of change, and we're not prepared for it. In Sweden, for instance, we're seeing it. We're not prepared for diversity. Swedes don't even understand what to do about the concept of diversity. Well, that's happening all over the world. But you also see technological change that are happening at a furious pace.
Sure.
What is, before a technology would replace an animal, a car would replace a horse. Now it's simply replacing humans. And so you go back and forth on that. That's fantastic. You get whatever the app is, and it'll help you. But at the same time, when the speed of change is that high, you have to wonder how society is going to handle it. Fundamentally, I'm an optimist. I'm very much an optimist. I believe that we will overcome the challenges around climate change. We will overcome the challenges around poverty. We will overcome many of the huge challenges that we're facing. We'll overcome a division between cultures and ethnicities. But I believe that we are also impatient, and that impatience will keep on creating tremendous amount of tension. And it's good that we're impatient. Impatience is fantastic. It means that creates tension. That's where we come in. Innovators have a shot of driving that change.
If we do that well, if we say we're back here in Sweden 10 years from now, 2025, let's say, what sort of the type of companies and sort of business world would you like to be besides those, let's say, macroeconomic that we saw, the climate change issues and race, poverty, etc. What type of more innovative, what type of business life would you like to be part of or contribute to in the next 10 years?
I mean, it's my goal has always been to create a way of understanding, a way of thinking about innovation that people can take in, and that is anchored in the notion of diversity. I want to, in 10 years from now, I want to be in a world where people are eagerly reaching out to those different from themselves. They're eagerly trying to break down whatever boundaries stand around them and to innovate. I can't tell you how that's going to hit for any given industry. Industries are being born and they're killed off at an incredible rate right now. You know, taxis. 5 years ago, nobody could really predict that they would be in trouble. Well, with companies like Uber and so on coming in, they are. Okay, now, or at least we have to redefine what it means to be something like a taxi. So industries will be born and fall away, like it always has happened, just faster. But the world I'd like to see is one where the people being players in this, they are making connections to those different from themselves. And in those connections, they're creating a new world.
Fantastic. Frans?
Awesome.
Great to meet you.
Thank you.
You guys as well. Thank you as always for tuning in. Go out there and chase intersections and diversity. Pick up Frans's books, The Medici Effect or The Click Moment, and keep exploring the beautiful world we have. Take care.
Thank you.